Ah, Madanach, the king in rags, was once a proud and feared leader of the Forsworn, a collection of men and women that many labeled savages, but who themselves claimed rightful sovereignty over the Reach. A learned man in the old ways, Madanach was widely recognized the plotter of strategies and sower of rebellious seeds. Some would say that while the land did not recognize him as its king, the hearts of his men did. They reverberated with his anger and echoed with his need for retribution. Madanach's journey, however, didn't start from ascension to the ranks of Forsworn command. It was birthed in the calamity of the loss of his kinsmen, the very men and women who provided their blood for the Reach. When the Nords invaded their land, they invoked a rage in him that turned this commoner into a king whose throne wasn't made of gold or jewels but of hope. A king who dressed not in royal silks, but in the worn, ragged clothing of his people. And thus he became the king in rags. But every ruler has enemies. The Nords were his. They despised his rebellion. They sought to quell his uprisings. And when they couldn't kill him in the battlefield, they imprisoned him in the darkest corner they could find, the Sidna mine. The irony, though, was that the Nords thought they were locking away Chaos, a senile old man who would no longer pose a threat. But they could not have been more wrong. In Sidna mine, the stone walls echoed with the sound of pickaxes and the desperate pleas of the confined. But in all this chaos, if one listened closely, they could hear the whispers of rebellion, the whispers of freedom, all emanating from one man, Madanach. From his prison cell, Madanach continued to wage his war. To those outside the cell, he looked tamed, a frail figure stripped of his freedom. But to the prisoners of the mine, he was their voice, their hope, their beacon in the darkest of times. He was their unchanged, unbeaten, unbowed leader, a king whose throne was a prison cell, but whose realm was ever expanding in the hearts of his followers. Indeed, Madanach weaved an intricate web of rebellion, extending even beyond the mine's wall. His words resonated, his influence grew, and slowly the gears began to turn. And so, every clang of the pickaxe was not just an act of labor but a ringing declaration of defiance, all orchestrated by one man, their king in rags, their Madanach. Through the bleak and seemingly endless days, dragging into cold, hard nights, only to return back into more sterile days, the rhythmic clink and chime of pickaxes against rigid rock serves as the desperate symphony for the miners. Scrabbling away tirelessly at the lustrous silver veins, each prisoner is yet another cog in this relentless wheel of Sisyphean labor. And amidst such desolation, there perches one figure atop a throne of crumbling stones and hopeful dreams, seeking to draft an uprising from the ashes of surrender. Madanach, our king in rags. True to skeevers in the shadows, this silent plotting brews and simmers beneath his calculating demeanor. A grand-scale escape plot concocts behind those embattlemented eyes, partnered with a zealous, won't-go-unheard stand against the tyrannic silver-blood family that rules Markarth. Unbeknownst to them, they've caged a dragon in their mine, a dragon that's far from defeated. For the king in rags' influence extends beyond the dank confines of Sidna mine. His loyal subjects, obedient and fierce, carry his spark out into the heart of Markarth. Smuggling messages, unarmed, except for their unwavering loyalty, they serve as the crucial lifeline bridging the isolated insurgency of the mine to the free world outside. Assimilating support, they sow the seeds of a bloody harvest that remain yet unseen to the eyes of normalcy. And thus, behind those prison bars and beneath that ragged crown, we come upon a startling revelation. We see the rise of a new Madanach, no longer just the incarcerated king. He's become the throbbing heart of the Reachmen's struggle, a living, breathing embodiment of their relentless quest for freedom. The king in rags quiets not. He roars his cause in the silent whispers of the oppressed, the secret plots of the conniving, and the unabashed tenacity of his defiance. United under his clandestine rule, the inmates of the mine transform from subdued captives to fervid rebels, each heart fueled by an undying ambition to reclaim the land that was once their own. The whispers grow louder, the defiance more resolute, as the Nord rule is systematically challenged by this underbelly of resistance. The discord grows, reverberating through the cavernous prison, and the pulse thus created leads us down a path of clandestine tales and heroic quests. betrayals, dreams, and the indomitable spirit of autonomy tear apart the narrative from its seams, uncovering a tale spun from the fibers of hope and freedom. This, my friends, is the saga of Madanach, a testament to resilience and the eternal yearning for liberty. Ah, the echoes of resistance did finally rise, and a roaring climax rolled down the winding, silent corridors of the Sidna mine. The planned jailbreak, the fruit of Madanach's untiring efforts, did brilliantly what it was meant to do. It snarled the wheel of monotony and sparked bone-rattling chaos. The miners, their bodies marred with the scars of ceaseless toil, transformed into warriors as they clashed with the unsuspecting guards. Blood stained the stone, screams pierced the air, and amidst this chaos, one figure reigned supreme. Madanach, the king in rags. For this was his moment, his reclamation of freedom. Clad in nothing but the scars of time and armed only with the sheer force of his will, Madanach broke free from his chains, a freed beast, wild and fearsome. In the aftermath, the echoing silence witnessed a cataclysmic reality, a broken prison, shattered chains, and a city devastated to its very core. The reverberations of this escape swept through Markarth like a chilling storm, shaking the very foundations of societal order, and the echoes traveled beyond, resonating in each city, each hold, and every corner of Skyrim. And then there was silence. The king in rags had completed his daring escape and disappeared into the ravenous embrace of the hills, the very hills that lent themselves to the defiant spirit of the Reachmen. His tangible presence was lost, but his legend, it lingered on. It gripped the city in an iron vice. The walls whispered his name, the wind sang his songs, and the mighty people of the Reach nurtured his defiant fire in their hearts. This escape was more than a jailbreak. It was a symbol, representing that no matter how fierce the oppression, the spirit of resistance will never kneel. It was a testament to Madanach's indomitable spirit, and a grim reminder to the oppressors that the cost of civil freedom comes at a steep price. The tale of Madanach, the king in rags, thus concludes on a strangely uncanny note. A hush that still thrums with the undercurrent of unrest, a shadow that still echoes the reverberations of a leader that once was, and may very well be again. For this is not an end, not truly. No, in the choir of the Skyrim winds, in the hushed whispers of the Reachmen, his legacy endures, a dormant revolution that perhaps has merely drawn back for the time being, awaiting its call to arms once again.